Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today I'm talking about why the Denver Broncos will win Super Bowl 57. This is the newest video in the series where I'm going over each of the major contenders for the Super Bowl, some of the biggest reasons why they have a pretty strong chance to do well in the playoffs, or in the Broncos' case, win the Super Bowl. This is going to be another one of those videos similar to the 49ers where I'm talking about pretty much every player on the team because there's so many major dominant players. But I'm going to switch things up a little bit and talk about the defense first. There's a very young defensive line. From the couple of the players came from the 49ers, and DJ Jones and Deshaun Williams came from the 49ers. Draymond Jones is a born and bred Bronco, but it's a very young defensive line, and there's a lot of speed on this Broncos defense. That was 8th in the league in yards and 3rd in the league in points last year. At the linebackers, though, I want to talk about Randy Gregory, and I wanted to talk about Bradley Chubb. Randy Gregory, these are the two outside linebackers on the Broncos this season, the two starting ones. Bradley Chubb was with them last year. He had a pretty strong season, and Randy Gregory has been on the Dallas Cowboys. He had another strong season last year as well. Last year was one of his better years, and both of these players are pretty phenomenal players to be the middle of your defense. The Broncos got some really good pass rush last year out of Bradley Chubb, and I think that Randy Gregory is going to add that extra pressure from the other side where they can't just put their best offensive linemen, their best best guards on Bradley Chubb if they have to follow him as well. So the defensive linemen are getting better on the Broncos. They're getting older, they're getting more mature, and then the linebackers, they're adding some more depth to the position, and it's a very strong core that the Broncos are starting to make. In the secondary, you have Patrick Surtain, you have Justin Simmons, and you have K'Waun Williams. K'Waun Williams came from the 49ers, and he has been on the 49ers defense, which has been one of the better defenses in the league the past 10 years, the entirety of his career. He's a veteran player. He's going to bring a lot of depth and understanding to this roster. I feel like he's kind of like a Devin McCourty type player for the Patriots, where he's not going to get you Pro Bowl. He's not going to get a Pro Bowl selection, but he's going to be an amazing team player. He's going to do a phenomenal job locking people down without getting all those fancy interception return touchdowns. But adding him to the already amazing secondary of Justin Simmons and Patrick Surtain, the two young, fast corner and safety for the Denver Broncos, is going to make a really dominant trio in the secondary. So obviously the Broncos line, not the best in the league, but still very strong. As you get further back, the passing game against the Broncos is going to be very, very, very tough. And the defense last year was third in points and 8th in yards. I think it's just going to get better. We also have one of the better running back duos or running back rooms in the league. Yes, one of the better ones in the league. We have the starting running back, Javonte Williams, and we have the backup, Melvin Gordon. Now, I don't even know who technically is the starter and who's technically... I think it's technically that Javonte Williams is the starter, but Melvin Gordon is as good as any starting running back in the NFL. People think that he's taken a step back, but he really hasn't. He just stopped catching the ball as much. He still has great depth to his game. They just haven't needed the receptions out of the backfield the past couple of seasons. When he was on the Chargers, he had a much lower yard per carry average, actually, of probably below 4. The last couple of seasons, he's averaged 4.6 yards per carry for the Denver Broncos, which is very impressive in the NFL. I think that he's going to continue to do well. He's going to continue to average big yardage, and I think that between these two, you're going to have a very efficient running back room that's going to get you a lot of first downs when you really need them. They also got Mike Boone from Minnesota, who's been pushed back, hasn't gotten a lot of starts because of the obvious Alexander Mattison and obviously Dalvin Cook being in front of him. But these two running backs arguably are a top 5 pair in the league after obviously Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, maybe Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison. And then there's not a whole lot of other teams I'd put above these two for best running back rooms in the league. Moving on to wide receivers, we have Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, who have been on the team the last few seasons. Courtland Sutton's a little bit older, veteran wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy's a much younger player, but they're both strong, deep threats. Both of them average about 15 yards per reception, which is very impressive. Obviously, I think a lot of it has to do with the way the Broncos have played offense the last few seasons. I think that might naturally come down a little bit because Russell Wilson is a little bit more conservative with his passing, but he does definitely throw deep balls, and I think that having these two available is going to definitely increase that side of his game. It's going to affect the way that he thinks about passing the football, and I think that having both of these deep threats, especially Courtland Sutton, who's been so consistent for so many years and is a Pro Bowl wide receiver, is going to be a great addition to Russell Wilson's arsenal. I also wanted to talk about KJ Hamler. They drafted him this season. He had a 4.27 40 time, which is insanely impressive. 4.27 is crazy. It's within a tenth of a second of one of the fastest ones in league history. He's obviously going to be a returner for... maybe he's not going to be a returner for him. I'm not sure if he's going to be a returner, but he'll add to that deal. There's going to be so many deep threats on this team because they have the two established deep threats, and then you have one of the fastest receivers in the NFL. Now, speed obviously doesn't always equal good because we've seen that time and time again with different players who've come through the league, but I think that with Russell Wilson, he's going to know how to exploit KJ Hamler's abilities. He's going to know how to really tap into those abilities and really take advantage of them. And I think that having KJ Hamler, Courtland Sutton, and Jerry Jeudy all on the field at the same time, with the ability to throw it to Melvin Gordon or to throw it to Javonte Williams at any time, gives them slot receivers, gives them passes out of the backfield, gives them all kinds of different targets. And they have a very strong tight end on their team as well. They no longer have him, but whoever their tight end is out on the field, it's going to be a strong receiving core. Finally, I want to talk about Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is now a Denver Bronco. He has been on the Seahawks the entirety of his career until now. Last year, he was injured, and in my opinion, we're seeing a little bit of a Peyton Manning story. Injured last year, didn't have the best year of his career. Peyton Manning was out for the season. And now he's going to Denver. And Denver's quarterbacks usually are more likely to win a Super Bowl when they're older. You see that with John Elway, you see that with Peyton Manning, and now Russell Wilson. Wilson's stats the last few years have actually been better than his first bunch of years in the season, even though he hasn't had as much playoff success. He's only 29-17 compared to 75-36, but that's still a good record because his defense has been incredibly bad every year. Now he has arguably definitely top 10 defense, arguably top 5 defense. He's been passing for more touchdowns and being more conservative with the ball over the last few years, and I think that bringing that to the Denver Broncos and the defense that he's going to have is going to be a really good connection, and it's going to be a really good formula for playoff success and Super Bowl hopes. Overall, the Broncos this season have a very hard schedule, so I think that Russell Wilson, a veteran quarterback, will be able to handle that better than anyone, and I'm super excited to see what they're going to be doing this season.